How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another AITC video. We have a very special segment today with two very special people, two of our most avid AITC fans or likers on the Instagram. We have Presten and Tatiana. They are both from Cypress College in Region 8 in the state of California. Do you know what, can you tell us what city to kind of give people an idea?
We're in Cypress. We're pretty close to Disneyland. We're probably about 25 minutes away. Another 10, 15 minutes from Knott's. So.
Yeah, we're really close to Knott's Berry Farm. I was going to say that.
Oh, and Buena Park. Okay, great. Knott's Berry Farm is my favorite theme park. Just lines are shorter. Supreme Scream, you guys ever done that one?
Yep, we've done that.
Just glad it's still there. Anyway, so Presten Jimenez is the student body president of Cypress College. He was elected last year in 2019. And then Tatiana is vice president, correct?
Yes.
And what's unique about their situation is that they are currently in a committed relationship and they work together. And we wanted to sit down and ask them a little bit about the dynamic about, working together in student government, but also adding a bit of a non-business or non-political side to the conversation. So thank you very much, you guys, for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Great. So maybe kind of fill us in a little bit real quick before we get started on kind of what you guys have in the works so far with your administration. It kind of humble brag a little bit for everybody watching.
So, right now we're really pushing to get a community garden to kind of combat student hunger. We feel like it coincides with a lot of our college's missions and values. And, we're also trying to make sure that student voices are constantly heard in shared governance committees. We feel like sometimes administrators think they know what they want for students, but it can be a little miscued. So that's kind of our biggest projects and kind of bring overall awareness that student government has the back of students and is actively pursuing, what students want.
Well, he said it well.
Okay, great. You guys are in sync. I love it. Okay, so we got a chance to talk before the interview a few days before about kind of how you guys met. And I know, Tatiana, you mentioned that you met Presten through when he was in clubs or involved in another position in AS. So I'm guessing you're together. You have a lot in common. How do you think you would have met if it hadn't been for student government?
I don't think we would have ended up meeting just because our majors are actually different. I'm a kinesiology major and she's a criminal justice major. So I think if it weren't for us being in clubs at the time or being around student government or wanting to be in student government, I don't know if we'd actually ever really run into each other.
Yeah, we would be on opposite sides of the campus, so I don't think we would have ran into each other.
Oh, wow. Okay. So student government bring you together. Love that.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, so I know you ran for your respective positions, and you ran on the same ticket or slate, however you want to call it. And I certainly ran in my own slate a couple times, and it's very chaotic. It can be chaotic at times getting your cabinet together, and it can be very intense, very stressful. So how did you manage running a campaign while still maintaining a relationship? I can only picture like maybe Michelle and Barack Obama running together. How do they maintain a marriage while also, doing all the TV spots and all of that?
I think for our campaign, there was really a big group effort. A lot of my cabinet had decided that they really wanted me to go forward and lead them as president. And I think when it came to our campaign, we kind of put our relationship on a hold. We both have this shared goal, both to get the positions that we wanted, and we were, when it came to campaigning day and voting day, we were, out there working just to try to get the votes. And I think with campaigning itself is we ran with the skills that we had rather than us being in a relationship. Because I know for myself, I think that would have been a turnoff because you don't always know if people can separate business and a relationship. And I think to me, that would have been a turnoff if I was voting for someone like myself.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was chaotic at that time. It was finals, we were running, it was crazy, but we still managed to have our own relationship. from outside of AS when we weren't running. But yeah, it was crazy during that time.
I think there was a little bit of like a uniqueness to me running as well for president. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it was basically an entire council that wanted me to push and wanted me to lead them. And I think everybody in my cabinet having that same goal is like, we don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to make sure you win. And we pushed with it. We worked as a team and used basically everything in my power to make sure that, I could get an advantage somehow, but, still staying within the limits and regulations and not overstepping bounds.
We definitely didn't run as a relationship. We ran as more like in a partnership, because I wanted him to be the president, and he wanted me to be the executive vice president. So we all pushed together to be the cabinet that we are today.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And it's great that you said I wanted him to be the president, not I wanted him to be my president. So I would guess that you really knew that the person was going to do right by the students. Did it ever occur to you that maybe one of you would get elected and the other one wouldn't?
Yeah, it was a scenario that was, thought of, but I think the way that everybody that I ran with, the way we handled it was, we're going in as a team. If we don't end up as a team, then we leave as a team. Yeah. And, we really pulled all the strings we could, whether it was, talking different programs. And before that, I was, interclub council chair and student organizations vice president. So, I pulled all the clubs that I could that I helped out through the semester and, campaigning everywhere, and I was able to but get the help of the previous or 2 councils ago, the president to come out and help me. And, we have a cheer club on campus, and I brought them out and had them, campaign where I wouldn't be able to be. So we really ran a strategic campaign to make sure that there wasn't going to be a situation where I didn't make it as president.
Yes, and for anyone watching, you may recognize Presten. We featured him earlier last year, or when we first launched AITC. And one of the things that's unique about you, and I'm learning more about this now, is that you're not the typical student politician. You're majoring in kinesiology. You skateboard. You have a business. You're not a political science person. You're not too caught up in the politics of it. So, I think that's very unique. And do you think that served as an advantage?
I think it does. I think part of being a president and what students want is they don't just want a political person. They want someone that's down to earth and understands what students, rather than me feeling like I'm always on a podium higher than them. Because I really don't see myself as that. I kind of just see myself as a central voice for everybody. So I think a lot of people get wrapped up into the politics of everything. And I think that can kind of not necessarily miscue their judgment, but they go through so many processes to try to be political about it, they don't finish what they want to finish. And I think that with my attitude is like, I just want to get stuff done. I want to make sure the students are taken care of. I think that's helped me, finish projects faster than most people would, and try to bring these new ideas, not from a politician's perspective, but an everyday student.
Oh, very good. Did you need to have a kind of going on that same thought? Did you need to have a conversation with your advisor or with anybody on the cabinet about your relationship, or was that something that people just didn't really think about or care about?
I don't think anybody really minded, because when we both kind of started, we were in a relationship. So we kind of moved up together in a relationship. Thankfully, we have a really cool advisor, Dave, and he tells us he's going to treat us like adults, and the fact that whether he said it was okay for us to be in relation to student government, we would have done it anyways. So rather than try to police about it, he said, "You're adults. You're responsible for yourself. If you have an issue, take care of it outside of AS. Don't drag that in." So I think him letting us be responsible for ourselves, I think that kind of helped push us to being stronger together and to kind of continue. And, there wasn't a lot of people that had relationships in AS, but there was everybody in AS had a relationship, but it wasn't necessarily in AS. So I think everyone was kind of just like, yeah, do your thing.
I think it also helped that us being in student government from the start for 2 years to now helped us a lot to be in our relationship.
Oh, very good. Now, we may have some viewers who are in student government now, and they might be thinking, you know what, I kind of like somebody, I've got chemistry with someone, but they're NAS, and, I don't want to poop where I eat, I don't want that kind of trouble. What would you say to someone who is in that predicament now?
I would say go for it because you guys have the same goals and outcomes. And if it would be totally different if you were in AS and somebody wasn't in AS because you guys would be so busy and your schedules would not match.
Yeah, I think people have to understand that when it comes to student government, the only constant in student government is going to be the advisors. And, presidents and their cabinets just going to be recycled out every year. Not necessarily as a bad thing, but that's just the way that it works. And you shouldn't be so worried that, oh no, it's going to affect student government. If you legitimately think that there could be a relationship that could carry on after student government. So I kind of hate to say the phrase, but it's like shoot your shot because eventually you're not going to be in AS anymore. So it's like, yeah, right now you might be in it and that's your world right now, but in a year you're not going to be here.
I would have to also say that make sure you know that when you're in student government, be in student government, but when you're outside of that, then be in your relationship because it's two different things. You don't want to mix them up in their roles.
That's very good. I was asking for a friend, by the way, just so you know. Okay, so I understand you two are together, you're in a monogamous relationship, and you're obviously exclusive. But we do know, and these people always seep in through the system, people who may be using student government as a way to hook up, or as a way to go to the conferences, get the hotel, and then just sort of see who they can kind of invite in. And it can be sometimes a very toxic environment, depending on people's goals. And I know right now with the #MeToo movement, it's become a lot more strict. What are your thoughts on that? Have you witnessed anything? And what do you think about anyone who uses student government as the adult friend finder?
I think you got to really understand the purpose of student government and the importance of it. This is your only way, or student government is the only way for students to have a strong, opinionated voice. And, thankfully for Cypress, we haven't had this issue where somebody wants to come in and just, hook up with a bunch of people. And especially when it comes to conferences, it's like, understand that we're there for a reason and we're there using students' money to be able to participate. So when we go to conferences, it's kind of like straight cut forward of, hey, we've got goals here that we want to do, whether it's networking or trying to find some idea that we can implement at Cypress. We have to have goals outside of just attending a conference and learning. And I think that, if that's your goal to come here and just hook up with a bunch of people, I don't think you should be here.
Yeah, that would be strongly not advised. When we go to conferences, like Presten said, where there's only strictly for the conference. Like we all know it's like business.
Excellent. Very good. So outside of just the two of you, I guess because you know how to work in the business environment and also on a personal level and kind of use that level of emotional intelligence that you need, I'm going to guess that you have a good working relationship with the people on your cabinet, your senators or vice presidents or however Cypress structures their student government. What are some of the things that you do to build a relationship or a connection with other students instead of just kind of siloing it between the two of you? What are some of the things that you do to get people closer?
So I try to regularly, whoever's in the office at the time, if I see they're stressing or, they have some downtime, there's a few local businesses that we'll go walk over to, where it's just like grabbing a drink or, hey, come walk with me to the vending machine. Just kind of be able to have this time where it's just me and this other person. And, in some of those moments, you really get to learn about somebody. Or, if they're having issues that they don't want to talk about in the office, it's their time for them to kind of voice them to me so that I can have a better understanding. I think we try to keep the idea that we're not just a council, but as a family. And I think that's what kind of creates a strong bond between us and kind of helps us work together and try to get there. And the same idea that we're not here for really our own personal gain. We're here because, our school has 16,000 students that need someone to be that voice. They need somebody to sit in that shared governance committee and say, nope, that's not right. Or, sticking up when you're in a room full of administrators and you have to tell them that's not what we want, and it's challenging, but, that's what we're here for. And I think having a strong bond is what keeps us moving.
Yeah, with Cypress, our AS, we are really like a family. Like we're all like treat each other as equals. So whenever someone's in the office, I'm like, no one's available, but hey, you want to go like get some food? And it's so relaxing to know that they're your friend and your family, and you could go hang out with them.
Yeah, and I've heard situations where, councils are split on a system that has checks and balances, and they don't get anything done, or just, the president isn't liked by the rest of the council. And I really feel like that's the hardest way to do right. And if you have such a divide and such a gap between your council and different cabinets, nothing's ever going to happen. And I think you kind of need to kind of be mature about it and be like, you know what, if we have a problem, let's figure it out. Rather than, I don't like you, you don't like me, that's it. Like, we're here for the same common goal to do better than the person before us.
Good. And speaking of common goals, one thing people may not know is that not only are you in student government together, but you also, Preston, you have your own clothing brand, and the two of you work together on that as well. So, I mean, you do business together, you do politics together. What's your secret to being able to work in such high stress environments and still being able to look at each other at the end of the day?
We kind of struggled. Not even to like act like we didn't, but kind of at the beginning of the semester, it was a struggle to find what's our time and what's AS time. And we would continually bring AS into every conversation that we had. Now, and at the time, starting a new position, it's going to be like that. That's all you think about. But learning that at some points you have to step away and be like, I'm not talking about AS. We're not mentioning it all for the next 3 hours, no matter how bad you want to be like, guess what I just found out? No, you got to put it off to the side and actually have a relationship outside of AS.
Yeah, it was hard because, you got your schedules and they don't match up. There's 20 minutes of gap. It's difficult at times, but then like we understood like item like AS is AS and it's work and personal time is our own personal time.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like you really have to be strong and strict about no time for AS right now and being able to put it aside. I know for me, like AS is kind of like my baby. I want to make sure that I take care of it, and what I do now is going to have an effect on previous councils. So for me, it's like a really big deal that I take care of everything, but her goal for AS might not be as strong as mine. So you also have to recognize your differences and kind of your leadership style and kind of take everything into account. And sometimes you got to have those conversations like, look, our AS relationship isn't working right now. What do we have to do to fix it? Rather than dwelling on the fact and being like, no, I'm not going to talk to you. Well, I'm going to have to talk to you. We're in the same office. And if we want to get stuff done, I have to talk to you. So it's hard because sometimes you have to be more mature than you want to be.
Got it. Well, last question. This one's more for Tatiana here. Okay. So Preston is currently president and you're vice president. And I know you've been obviously very supportive of Preston as president. Any chance that you'll be running for president now that the new spring semester has started and campaigns are coming up? And Preston, will you be supporting her in that as well?
So I will be transferring out this semester too. So I will not run for president, but I'm not going to limit myself when I go into Cal States or UCs. But I do see him work so hard, and I don't know if I can do and deal with all his stress that he has with student government. So maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future. Okay.
If she wanted to run for president after I did, I would say, go for it. But kind kind of give her tastes here and there about what it actually is. And for my kind of learning style is sometimes letting myself kind of just run with it and figure it out as I go. So for me, not having a lot of instruction is okay because I've observed on how it's supposed to be done. I know for her, she kind of has more of a different learning style. So I would have to kind of teach her and kind of slowly, have her be in this position while I have it. So, I mean, if she wanted to, I would say definitely go for it. And she's got my support.
Beautiful. Okay, guys. Well, before we wrap it up, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you if they have any questions.
All right. So you can follow us at Cypress AS, or if you want to follow the personal, it's at Presten PJ.
And then mine is on Instagram, Tatiana.melendres. So it's just my name.
Very good. And we'll be sure to plug those in down below. And then, Preston, those are for Instagram?
Yeah, for Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was very insightful. I'm sure we'll have a lot of students out there who might have the courage to ask somebody out for Valentine's Day because it's coming up. And we hope to maybe do a follow-up later and see how you guys are doing and if you were able to take those skills elsewhere. So, again, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we're happy to do it.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right, absolutely. Have a good day, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.